Right now there is a sound in your head that no one else can hear. A thin, high-pitched whine, or perhaps a low internal buzzing like a phone vibrating in your chest. You have checked your environment. You have checked your health. But the sound remains. It is there when you wake up. It is there when the room goes quiet. It screams at you in the silence. You think this is a malfunction. You think your nervous system is fraying. You worry that you are developing a permanent pathology, but physics suggests the exact opposite. This noise is not a sign that you are breaking down. It is the sign that you are about to break through. You are looking at this through the lens of biology when you should be looking at it through the lens of mechanics. In 1787, a physicist named Ernst Chladni proved that sound creates form. He took a brass plate. He covered it in fine white silica sand. Then he pulled a violin bow across the edge. What happened next is the key to your entire reality. The sand did not just sit there, it screamed. As the frequency hit the metal, the sand was thrown into violent chaos. It scattered everywhere. Total entropy. It looked like a disaster. But then, as the tone held steady, the sand suddenly snapped into a perfect geometric mandala. A star. A cross. A lattice of perfect order. To move from a simple pattern to a higher, more complex one, the sand cannot just slide into place. It must first undergo a moment of total chaos. It must dissolve. That buzzing you feel in your ear, that vibration in your chest. That is the chaos. You are in the transition between geometries. You are not sick, you are in a pattern jump. This is why internal buzzing is actually a pattern jump. You have likely spent weeks or months fighting this sensation. You have tried to silence it, you have tried to medicate it, you have prayed for it to stop. You are treating the symptom of your evolution as an enemy to be defeated. This is a critical error in judgment. If the sand on the Chladni plate fought the vibration, it would never form the mandala. It would just remain scattered. It would remain in entropy. Your resistance to the ringing is what causes the suffering, not the ringing itself. You have been silently carrying this fear. You have not told anyone because you do not want to sound crazy. You noticed it started right around the time your external life began to feel heavy. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe a relationship turned cold overnight. Maybe you just feel a sense of impending pressure, like the air in the room is getting too thick. You feel like you are running out of time, but you do not know what for. You are tired, deeply tired. But you cannot sleep because the moment your head hits the pillow, the volume turns up. It feels like you are screaming in a soundproof room. This is not a psychological break. This is a physics necessity. Let us look closer at the Chladni experiment. When the bow strikes the plate, it sends a standing wave through the metal. There are areas where the metal vibrates violently. These are called antinodes. The sand cannot stay there. Physics forbids it. So the sand migrates to the areas of stillness. These are called nodes. The pattern you see is actually the sand finding the only place where it can exist in peace. Now map this to your body. Your physical vessel is the plate. Your consciousness is the sand. The universe has just drawn a bow across your reality. The frequency has changed. The pitch has gone up. The old places where you used to find comfort, the old jobs, the old friends, the old routines, those are now antinodes. They are vibrating too fast. You cannot stay there anymore. This is why you feel anxious in crowded places. This is why you feel a sudden need to leave rooms you used to enjoy. You are being vibrated out of your old structure. The internal buzzing is the somatic registration of this displacement. It is the friction of your cellular structure trying to hold on to an old pattern while a new frequency is demanding a new geometry. You are the sand in the middle of the scatter. It looks like a mess, it feels like anxiety, but it is actually reorganization. Consider the violence of the transition. When the physicist increases the pitch, the sand does not gently walk to the new position. It is thrown. The higher the frequency, the more complex the pattern, but the more violent the transition. If you are hearing a high-frequency pitch that pierces through your thoughts, it means the jump you are attempting is massive. You are not moving from a square to a pentagon. You are moving from a square to a 12-point fractal star. The distance between the old order and the new order is vast. The buzzing is the sound of the distance. It is the sound of the gap. Most people run to the doctor. They get the MRI. They get the hearing test. The audiologist sits them down and says your hearing is perfect, There is no damage, it is just stress, just tinnitus. Learn to live with it. And you leave the office feeling more hopeless than when you arrived, because you know deep in your gut that this is not just stress. Stress feels like pressure. This feels like electricity. You can feel the current running down your neck. You can feel the tremor in your solar plexus. This is not biological wear and tear. This is an energetic installation. The medical model fails because it looks for pathology in the hardware. But the issue is in the software. You are receiving a data packet that your current operating system cannot pass yet. Think of it like a dial-up modem connecting to fiber optic speed. The screeching sound of the modem was not the machine breaking, it was the machine shaking hands with a larger network. That is what your ear ringing is. It is a handshake. It is a connection request from a higher timeline. You are the plate. Your reality is the sand. The sound is the bow. If you understand this triad, you stop being a victim of the noise. You start becoming a student of the geometry. You stop asking, how do I make it stop? You start asking, where is the sand trying to go? What is the new pattern trying to form? The anxiety you feel is simply potential energy that has not found its form yet. It is raw power without a container. When you are in the middle of the Chladni shift, everything feels loose. Nothing makes sense. Your sleep cycle breaks, your digestion breaks, your mood breaks. This is because the old structure has dissolved, but the new structure has not yet locked in. You are in the void. You are in the scatter. This is the most dangerous moment for the sand. If the vibration stops now, you stay in chaos forever. The only way out is through. The vibration must continue. The ringing must continue until the sand finds the new node. If you suppress the symptom, you abort the pattern. You must let the sound complete its work. You must let the bow finish the stroke. Think about the last time your life fell apart. Did a higher order emerge immediately after? Did you lose the relationship only to find yourself? Did you lose the job only to find your purpose? The chaos was necessary for the order. If you have felt this specific chaos recently, if you have felt this internal scattering like you are sand on a vibrating plate, hit the like button right now. Let us validate that we are all on the same plate. Let the algorithm know that this is not a medical emergency, but a collective structural leap. Let's strip away the mysticism for a moment and look at the mechanics. To understand why your head is ringing, you must understand the experiment that Ernst Chladni conducted in 1787. He took a rigid brass plate and covered it with fine white silica sand. Then he took a violin bow and drew it vertically across the edge of the plate. This is where the physics gets violent. As the bow creates friction, the plate begins to scream. It vibrates. The sand, acting as physical matter, is terrified of the vibration. It runs away from the areas of high resonance, the antinodes, and hides in the areas of stillness, the nodes. Instantly, a geometric pattern appears, a perfect square, a cross, a circle. Order is established. But here is the part that explains your current suffering. When Chladni increased the frequency, when he moved the pitch higher, the sand did not politely rearrange itself. The old pattern had to be destroyed. For a few seconds, as the frequency climbed, the sand flew into the air. Total chaos, no geometry, just entropy. It looked like a mistake, it looked like a mess. But the moment the new, higher frequency locked in, the sand snapped down into a far more complex, intricate mandala. You are not sick, you are simply on the plate. We call this phase the cymatic null point. It is the mandatory, non-negotiable phase of entropy, required to restructure matter into higher complexity. You cannot move from a simple life geometry to a complex, high-performance geometry without the dissolution of the old structure. The buzzing you hear, the high-pitched whine that feels like a dentist's drill in the center of your skull, that is the sound of the bow moving across your reality. The frequency has increased, but your physical matter, your cells, your nervous system, your external circumstances, has not yet snapped into the new design. You are currently the sand in the air. This is why you feel a deep, vibrating anxiety that has no trigger. You are scanning your environment for a threat, but the threat is internal. It is the friction of evolution. You feel like you are vibrating because, quite literally, Your molecular structure is oscillating at a rate that your conscious mind cannot interpret, so it translates it as panic or noise. Most people fail this test because they misdiagnose the data. You go to a doctor, they check your ears, the audiogram comes back clean, they tell you it is just stress or perhaps early-onset tinnitus. But you know that isn't true. Tinnitus is a hardware malfunction. It is static damage. What you are experiencing feels like a software upload. It fluctuates. It sings. It changes pitch when you have a realization. The medical model fails you because it assumes the body is a static machine that only breaks. It does not account for a body that is upgrading. Then you turn to the spiritual bypass. You try to clear the energy. You think the ringing is a psychic attack or bad vibes. You meditate to silence the mind. You try to banish the noise. This is a critical error. By trying to stop the ringing, you are trying to stop the bow. You are asking the universe to lower the frequency back to the old, comfortable pattern. You are trying to force the sand to stay in a simple square when your soul is demanding a complex mandala. Resistance creates persistence. As long as you fight the noise, you stay in the chaos. The sand cannot land if the plate never reaches the new pitch. You have been searching for the spiritual meaning of ringing in ears because your intuition knows this is a threshold event. But you are stuck in the null point because you are waiting for the noise to stop before you move forward. Physics dictates the opposite. You must move forward into the noise to stabilize the new order. Ask yourself right now, are you trying to go back to the old simple pattern just to get some quiet? Or are you willing to endure the chaos of the null point to land the higher geometry? The ringing is not the problem. The ringing is the transport mechanism. Stop trying to cure it. It is time to let the sand fall where it belongs. You are currently operating under a fundamental miscalculation. It is a miscalculation that has cost you years of peace. It is the reason you are exhausted. It is the reason you are scared. You believe you are the sand on the plate. You look at the chaos in your life, the relationships ending, the job feeling stale, the sudden anxiety, and you feel like the victim of a violent shake. You feel like something is happening to you. You are bracing yourself. You are gripping the edges of the table, white-knuckled, waiting for the earthquake to stop so you can go back to how things were. But look at the physics again. In the Chladni experiment, the sand does not move itself. The plate does not move itself. The form changes only when the frequency changes. Here is the paradigm shift. Here is the truth that changes everything. You are not the sand. You are not even the plate. You are the bow. That high-pitched ringing in your ear, that is not an attack. That is not a symptom of damage. That is the sound of you, your higher volition, your consciousness, applying pressure to the metal of your physical reality. You are doing this to yourself, but not out of self-destruction. You are doing it out of necessity. You have outgrown the old geometry. The pattern you were living in, the routine, the income, the dynamic with your partner, was a lower frequency shape. It was stable, yes, but it was small. And you, at a soul level, decided it was time to move to the next octave. So you drew the bow. You increased the tension, you raised the pitch. The buzzing you hear is simply the friction of evolution. It is the sound of a high-velocity consciousness dragging a low-density body into a new timeline. Think of it like atmospheric re-entry. When a spacecraft returns to Earth, it hits the atmosphere at thousands of miles per hour. The air in front of the ship cannot move out of the way fast enough. It compresses. It glows plasma hot. It screams. Inside the ship, it sounds like the world is ending. It rattles. It shakes. But the ship isn't broken. The ship is just moving faster than the environment can handle. You are in re-entry. The ringing in your ears is the friction of your new consciousness hitting the density of your old life. This completely inverts the power dynamic. If you believe the noise is a sickness, you are a patient waiting for a cure. You are helpless. You are small. If you understand the noise is your own engine revving, you are the pilot. This explains the intensity. Notice the correlation. You've been silently carrying this feeling that you are running out of time. You feel a frantic urgency, a pressure in your chest that says, hurry up. That is the acceleration. The louder the ring, the bigger the jump. If it was just a gentle hum, you would be shifting slightly, maybe changing a habit, maybe learning a new skill. but a piercing, screaming whine that wakes you up at 3:00 a.m. That is a quantum leap. That is your system attempting to jump 3 octaves at once. You are not just changing your mind. You are changing your structural reality. This is why the medical model fails you. They are looking for a broken part in the microphone, your ear. But the issue is that the singer, you, is hitting a note that the microphone wasn't built to record. Let's look at the anxiety. You call it anxiety. Your doctor calls it generalized panic disorder. Physics calls it undirected resonance. When that high frequency hits your body, it is raw energy. It is voltage. If that voltage has a wire to run through, a creative project, a physical sprint, a deep meditation, it becomes power. It lights up the room. But if you are sitting on the couch, doom scrolling, resisting the change, that voltage has nowhere to go. It loops, it bounces off your internal walls. It feels like your skin is crawling. It feels like you are going to explode. You aren't having a panic attack. You are having a power surge. You are trying to put 220 volts into a 110-volt outlet. The smoke you smell is your own resistance. This brings us to the hardest part of the shift, the external collapse. The law of correspondence is absolute. As within, so without. If your internal frequency is shifting from a simple square wave to a complex mandala, your external life must rearrange to match it. It is physically impossible for the sand to stay in the old pattern while the new note is playing. This is why your life feels like it is falling apart. You noticed a specific relationship turn cold overnight. A job you used to tolerate suddenly feels physically repulsive, like wearing a wool sweater in a sauna. Your appliances are breaking. Your schedule is disrupted. This is not bad luck. This is the sand scattering. The old pattern is dissolving because it cannot hold the new frequency you are broadcasting. The structure of your old life was built for the version of you that existed 3 years ago. That version is dead. The ringing is the funeral march for the old you, and the birth cry for the new one. So, what do we do with this? How do we stop the suffering? We stop the suffering by ending the resistance. The pain you feel, the headache, the tension, the fear, is not caused by the frequency. It is caused by your attempt to block the frequency. Imagine standing in a rushing river. If you plant your feet and try to stand still, the water will batter you. It will exhaust you. It will eventually drown you. The force is too great. But if you lift your feet and float, the water carries you. The struggle ends instantly. The speed is the same, but the suffering is gone. You have been planting your feet. You have been trying to make the ringing stop so you can focus. You have been trying to drug the anxiety so you can sleep. You have been trying to patch up the relationships that are trying to leave. You are fighting the physics of your own evolution. The method must change. Old method: sedate, distract, ignore, fix. New method: listen, align, amplify, surrender. When the ringing starts, do not reach for the television, do not reach for the phone, close your eyes, go into it. This sounds counterintuitive. Your instinct says to run away from the noise. I am telling you to run into the noise. The ringing is a carrier wave. It is a data stream. It is loaded with the instructions for your next step. But you cannot download the file if you keep hanging up the phone. This is what people in spiritual circles often refer to when they say, ascension symptoms explained, but they usually leave it vague. They say energies are rising. Let's be precise. Your biological oscillator is syncing with a new electromagnetic baseline. The lag time between the ping of the new frequency and the response of your cells is where the symptom lives. To close that gap, you must stop identifying as the victim of tinnitus and start identifying as a resonant vessel. A resonant vessel does not fear vibration. It is built for it. A resonant vessel knows that when the glass starts to sing, it isn't breaking. It's responding. You have spent months wondering if you are going crazy. You have spent nights staring at the ceiling, wondering why you can't find peace. You have been looking for silence, but silence is not the goal. Harmony is the goal. And harmony requires sound. The universe is handing you a tuning fork. It is ringing loudly in the center of your skull. It is asking you to tune your life to it. Stop trying to silence the fork. Start tuning the instrument. Once you accept that this noise is actually a signal, you need to know how to read it. Because not all ringing is the same, there is a code hidden in the chaos. Depending on which ear is ringing and what the sensation feels like in your body, the universe is giving you very specific instructions. It is time to look at the evidence. How do you distinguish a medical malfunction from a physics-based evolution? This is the question that keeps you awake. You need to know if you are breaking or if you are building. If this were just hearing damage, the symptoms would be static. A broken speaker always sounds broken. But that isn't what you are experiencing. You are experiencing modulation. You are experiencing intelligent fluctuation. There are 3 distinct markers, signatures in the noise, that separate a biological error from a pattern jump. If you can identify these, you move from the realm of the patient into the realm of the conductor. Here is the first piece of evidence: the stereo separation. You have likely noticed that the ringing is not a monolith. It moves. It has directionality. Medical tinnitus is often a blanket of white noise, a constant, irritating static caused by dying hair cells in the cochlea. But the frequency of a pattern jump is precise. It behaves like a transmission. Think of an old radio dial. You are tuning between stations. You hit the static between channels. That is the null point. But then you hit the mute button. You know this feeling. You are sitting in a room, perhaps talking to someone, perhaps alone reading. Suddenly, the ambient noise of the world drops out. Complete vacuum silence. It feels like someone pressed a mute button on reality. The air pressure in the room seems to change. And then, a split second later, piercing tone. A high-frequency line drives straight into one ear. This is not damage. This is a download packet. In data transmission, when a modem performs a handshake to establish a connection with a new network, it sends a high-pitched carrier wave. That is what your nervous system is doing. It is handshaking with a higher density of information. The silence beforehand is the system clearing the buffer to receive the file. Pay close attention to the location. This is where the physics becomes personal. If the high pitch dominates your left ear, this is the channel of the receptor. In the cross-wiring of the body's energetic system, the left side correlates to the feminine, the intuitive, the incoming. A ring in the left ear often signals that you are downloading a new emotional template or receiving information that hasn't yet decoded into language. You are being upgraded in your capacity to feel. If the pitch dominates your right ear, this is the channel of the integrator. The right side is masculine, active, outgoing. A ring here signals that you are being pushed to act. The energy has already been received. Now it is pressurizing you to speak, to build, to move. It is the pressure of potential kinetic energy waiting to be released. Check in with your body right now. Close your eyes for a second. Which side is louder? Is it the left pulling you into introspection, or the right pushing you toward the world? CTA comment. Go to the comments right now. I want to know your coordinates. Type left if you are in a receiving phase, or right if you are in an action phase. Let's see if we are collectively downloading or collectively launching. This brings us to the second marker, the one that feels the most dangerous yet holds the most promise. The internal tremor. You are lying in bed. It is 3:00 a.m. You wake up, not because of a noise, but because the bed feels like it is vibrating. You think there is an earthquake. You think a heavy truck is idling outside your house. You sit up. You put your hand on the mattress. Stillness. You look at your hand. It is steady as a rock. You check the window. The street is empty. But inside your chest, inside your solar plexus, it feels like you are holding a live wire. You are buzzing. It feels like your blood has been replaced with carbonated water. This terrified me the first time I felt it. I thought it was early-onset Parkinson's. I thought it was a nervous breakdown. Doctors call this internal tremor and often attribute it to anxiety. But anxiety has a specific flavor. It is tight, it is sharp, it is located in the throat or the stomach. This vibration is different. It is systemic. It is the cellular buzz. Go back to the Chladni plate. Remember the sand? Before the sand can move from the simple square pattern to the complex mandala, it must loosen. Friction must be reduced. The vibration increases so that the individual grains of sand stop sticking to each other. They must become fluid so they can travel to the new node. You are the sand. Your cells are the grains. This internal tremor is the sensation of your biological density loosening. The bonds of your old reality, the physical tension you've held for years, the trauma stored in the fascia, are being vibrated until they let go. You are not shaking because you are unstable. You are shaking because you are becoming fluid enough to assume a new form. If you interpret this shaking as anxiety, you will contract. You will tense your muscles to stop it. That is the worst thing you can do. That is like trying to glue the sand down while the plate is vibrating. You are fighting the physics. You are creating heat, friction, and pain. Instead, when the tremor starts, recognize it as the null point velocity. Your frequency has risen faster than your matter can adapt. You are in the lag time. The engine is revving, but the gears haven't caught yet. This leads directly to the third marker, and this one is external, because you are not a closed system. Sign number 3 is the reality glitch. There is a principle in physics: as within, so without. This is not just a spiritual platitude. It is electromagnetic law. Your heart and brain generate an electromagnetic field that extends several feet outside your body. When you are in a pattern jump, your voltage fluctuates wildly. You are generating spikes of energy as your system tries to calibrate to the new frequency, and your environment reacts. You might be experiencing what is commonly called the SLI phenomenon, streetlight interference. You walk under a street lamp and it flickers. You drive by and it goes out, but it gets closer to home. You touch your laptop and the Wi-Fi drops. Your phone battery drains from 40% to dead in minutes despite being healthy. Light bulbs in your house blow out with statistically impossible frequency. You think you are having bad luck. You think Mercury is in retrograde. No, you are an unrestrained power source. When you are in the null point where your aura, your field, is jagged, it is not yet coherent. It is throwing off sparks of raw, transformative energy. Sensitive electronics are designed to operate within a specific stable range. You are currently operating outside of that range. When your computer crashes for no reason, right, as you have a realization about your life, that is not a coincidence. That is a confirmation. The energy required to shift your mind was so high, it surged through your local field and disrupted the silicon chips nearby. We often search for ascension symptoms explained, hoping to find a medical list, but we forget that we are bioelectric beings. When your internal voltage changes, your external reality glitches. Look at the pattern. If you have the in stereo separation, the high-pitched directional ear ringing, and you have the in internal tremor, the phantom bed shaking, and you are blowing out upper light bulbs, you are not sick, you are not crazy, and you are certainly not under spiritual attack. You are in the middle of the most aggressive physics experiment of your life. You are the sand on the plate, and the bow is moving fast. The chaos is not evidence of destruction. It is the prerequisite for the new design. The doubt you feel is simply the old pattern trying to hold on. It is the square trying to remain a square, while the frequency is demanding a star. Let the square die. You have the evidence. You have the markers. Now the question changes. You are no longer asking, what is wrong with me? Now you must ask, how do I stabilize this tremor into power? Because the shaking will not stop until the sand finds its new place. You cannot go back to the lower frequency. You can only guide the chaos into the new order. You cannot think your way through a frequency shift. Logic is too slow. The mind tries to categorize the noise, but the body is the instrument receiving it. You must feel your way into the new geometry. Let us move from theory to direct physics. Sit up straight. Your spine is the primary antenna. Do not collapse it. Close your eyes. We begin with the frequency scan. Locate the sound currently present in your head. Do not flinch. Do not push it away. Pushing creates resistance, and resistance creates friction. Instead, bring your entire consciousness directly into the center of the whine. Where is the source? Is it sitting in the right ear, receiving the download? Is it in the left ear, demanding integration? Or is it a cloud of static at the base of your skull? Define its shape. Is it a laser-thin line, a pulsating sphere, a diffuse fog? Acknowledge this vibration. This is the null point. This is the precise moment the sand leaves the plate surface before it knows where to land. You're observing the chaos of your own evolution, Now we shift the dynamic with the volume dial. This is a paradoxical instruction. Your instinct is to dampen the noise to find peace. Physics dictates the opposite. You must match the amplitude to stop the dissonance. In your mind's eye, grab the dial of this frequency. Turn it up. Try to make the ringing louder. Use your focus to feed energy into the sound. Notice what happens to your anxiety. When you stop fleeing the signal and start amplifying it, the fear evaporates instantly. The noise transforms into fuel. You are no longer the victim of the vibration, you are the generator of it. You are matching the pitch of the new reality. Let that high voltage wash down, initiate the cellular bath. Imagine that high-pitched frequency, liquefying and pouring down from your ears into your throat, your chest, and your solar plexus. Your body is the Chladni plate. Your cells are the sand. Feel them vibrating. If you feel a tremor, let it shake. This is not pathology, this is restructuring. The vibration is scrubbing the density out of your bones. It is shaking loose the old patterns, the outdated relationships, the scarcity loops, the smallness. Let them dissolve. Watch the sand fly. You are being scrubbed clean by sound. Finally, the lock-in. Find the stillness inside the pitch. Every frequency, no matter how high, has a standing wave, a 0 point of total silence at its center. The eye of the hurricane. Rest your attention there. The shaking stops. The sand is settling. The chaos is snapping into a new complex mandala. Geometric order is returning to your system. You are not broken. You have just completed the jump. Take a deep breath and lock that pattern in. Open your eyes. Look at the room. Does the world look sharper? Is the contrast higher? Do the edges of objects look more defined? That is not your eyes changing. That is your processing speed increasing. You have stabilized the new pattern. You have moved from the chaos of the scattering sand to the stillness of the new geometry. You have stopped fighting the physics of your own growth. You understand now that the chaos on the plate is the proof of the music. The ringing in your ears is not a defect. It is an invitation. You are no longer the victim of a medical mystery. You are the conductor of the buzz. But understanding the physics is only the first step. You must now learn to operate the machine. You have a high-voltage current running through a system that was built for low voltage. If you do not manage this load, you will blow a fuse. That is what the anxiety is. That is what the panic is. It is your biological circuitry overheating, because you do not have the tools to ground the charge. We are going to install those tools right now. We are moving from theory to engineering. We need to implement a protocol for when the noise spikes, because it will spike. The next time you are in a crowded room or trying to sleep or driving your car, the frequency will attempt to overwhelm you. The old you would contract. The old you would search for a cure. The new you will perform a frequency audit. This is your first tool. The frequency audit is a perception tool designed to switch your brain from the amygdala, which screams danger, to the prefrontal cortex, which analyzes patterns. When the ringing starts, your body dumps cortisol into your blood because it thinks a predator is nearby. It thinks the siren is a warning. We need to manually override that switch. Here is the protocol. Step 1. When the ringing starts, stop moving. Freeze your physical body. You need to reduce the noise of your own movement to get a clear reading on the signal. Step 2. Rate the intensity on a scale of 1 to 10. Is this a background hum, a 3? Or is this a deafening scream, a 9? By assigning a number to the sensation, you are objectifying it. You are stepping outside of the experience and becoming the observer. You are looking at the sand on the plate, rather than being the sand. Step 3. This is the most critical variable. Ask yourself immediately, what thought was I just thinking? What emotion was I just feeling in the split second before the pitch shifted? The ringing is rarely random. It is a feedback loop. It is a notification from your operating system. You need to identify if this is a confirmation signal or a warning signal. You have felt this distinction before, even if you did not have the language for it. A confirmation signal usually comes as a sudden, sharp, high-pitched spike in the right ear. It hits you when you have a realization, or when you speak a truth you have been holding back. It feels like a bell of clarity. It cuts through the fog. If you catch this, you know you are on the right path. You acknowledge it. You say, "I hear you." And often the sound dissipates instantly. A warning signal feels different. It is often lower, heavier. It might manifest as a dull roar or a pressure in the left ear. It comes when you are agreeing to something you hate. It comes when you are in a room with people who drain your battery. It comes when you are betraying your own geometry. If you identify the sound as a warning, your action step is to withdraw. You must leave the room. You must stop the conversation. You must protect the integrity of your field. By using the frequency audit, you turn a symptom into a dashboard. You are no longer being assaulted by noise. You are reading your telemetry. You are checking your gauges. This shift in perception alone drops cortisol levels because the unknown becomes the known. You are not broken. You are just receiving data. But sometimes the data is too loud. Sometimes the physical sensation of the vibration is so intense that it creates a somatic tremor. Your hands shake. Your chest feels like it is full of bees. You cannot think your way out of this because it is happening in the tissue. For this, we need a mechanical intervention. We need tool number 2, the hum tuning. You have likely spent hours late at night searching for how to stop tinnitus naturally. You're looking for silence, but in the physics of cymatics, you do not get to order by silencing the plate. You get to order by tuning the frequency. You cannot stop the wave, but you can harmonize with it. The hum tuning utilizes the principle of constructive and destructive interference. If you have a sound wave coming in, and you meet it with a sound wave of the same frequency, you can lock it into a standing wave. You create structure. Here is the mechanics of the practice. When the high-pitched whine is drilling into your skull, do not try to ignore it. Listen to it closely. Is it an E-flat? Is it a high C? Find the pitch. Now, with your mouth closed, begin to hum. You are going to use your vocal cords to generate a physical vibration in your throat and chest. Try to match the pitch of the ringing in your ears. If the ringing is too high for your voice, find a harmonic. Find a lower note that sounds good against the high note. This activates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs right past the vocal cords. When you hum, you are physically massaging the primary nerve that controls your parasympathetic nervous system. You are sending a mechanical signal to your body that says, "We are safe." A predator does not hum. A victim does not hum. Only a master of the environment hums. As you sustain the note, feel the two waves meet. There is the internal wave, the ringing, and the external wave, your voice. When they lock in, you will feel a sudden shift in pressure. It is a physical sensation of clicking into place. This is the standing wave. You are stabilizing the sand. You are holding the geometry. Hold this hum for 30 seconds. Feel the vibration move from your throat into your chest and then into your solar plexus. You are anchoring the high frequency of the pattern jump into the dense matter of your body. You are literally tuning your instrument to the new reality. When you stop humming, you will notice something profound. The ringing may still be there, but the distress is gone. The panic has evaporated. You have integrated the signal. You must apply these tools with a specific integration framework. You must change your relationship with the symptom. The old framework was pathology. It said something is wrong, I must fix it. The new framework is evolution. It says something is changing, I must stabilize it. Think of it like a computer operating system update. When your computer is installing a massive new software, the fans spin up. The screen might flash. The system creates heat. You do not throw the computer in the trash because the fans are loud. You understand that this is the cost of the upgrade. You are currently downloading a new level of consciousness. You are expanding your capacity to perceive, to create, and to influence. The ringing is just the sound of the download bar. Every time the anxiety spikes, you look at it and say, "This is my upgrade loading." You perform the audit. You check the thought. You perform the hum, you stabilize the wire, and you continue. You have been silently carrying this because you thought it made you weak. You thought it made you fragile. But look at the physics. Only a structure with high integrity can withstand high resonance. If you were weak, you would not be ringing. You would be numb. The fact that you can hear the frequency means you are ready to wield it. You are the conductor. The buzzing is your orchestra warming up. Do not fear the sound. Direct it. The plate is set. The geometry is complex. The sand has found its new node. You have survived the dissolution. You have survived the chaos. You have built the instrument. Now we must learn to play the music. You have stopped fighting the physics of your own growth. For weeks, perhaps months, you have been treating this internal sound as an invader. You treated the ringing like a siren warning you of a crash. But now you see the schematic clearly. It was never a warning siren. It was the turbine engine of your consciousness spinning up to a higher RPM. You are not broken. You are simply moving faster than the reality around you. The sand on your plate has dissolved. The chaos that terrified you, the sudden anxiety, the technological glitches, the relationships that ended without explanation, was just the necessary entropy. It was the moment the bow crossed the metal, shaking the old geometry apart so the new mandala could form. Take a moment to feel the difference in your body right now. You are no longer the victim of the vibration. You are the vessel of it. The fear is gone, replaced by a strange, high-voltage hum in your solar plexus. This is what stabilization feels like. The pattern jump is complete. You have landed in the new node. The geometry is locked in, but this is not the end of the experiment. In fact, this is the most dangerous moment in the process. Most people reach this stage, the point where the ringing stabilizes and the panic subsides, and they simply stop. They treat this new frequency as the destination. They learn to live with the hum. They accept the new sensitivity. They settle into the new pattern and wait for life to happen to them. This is a waste of potential energy. It is like building a nuclear reactor and then using it to toast bread. You have built the instrument. The metal plate of your life is now tuned to a higher pitch. The sand has arranged itself into a complex, intricate masterpiece. But a violin sitting in a case, no matter how perfectly tuned, does not make music. It just sits there, full of potential tension. You have mastered the receiving end of the equation. You know how to hold the frequency. You know how to withstand the tremor without crumbling. Now, you must learn to direct it. You have likely felt this specifically in the last few days. You feel charged. You feel a surplus of energy that has nowhere to go. You walk into a room and feel like you are too loud, even when you aren't speaking. You are broadcasting white noise. This is because you have resonance, but you do not yet have coherence. Resonance is the ability to vibrate in sympathy with a higher order. That is what the ringing is. You are resonating with a new timeline. Coherence is something different. Coherence is the laser beam. It is the ability to take all those scattered, buzzing waves and align them into a single, directional vector. Without coherence, you are just a loud noise in the universe. With coherence, you become a signal. You become a command. Look at your life right now. The old structures have dissolved. You are standing in the open space of the null point. You have the raw power. The buzzing in your ears is proof of the voltage, but what are you going to power with it? If you do not give this energy a specific geometric instruction, it will eventually dissipate. It will slide back into entropy. The sand will lose its form. The ringing will just become annoyance again. We are moving into the next phase of this laboratory. We are leaving the physics of the Chladni plate and entering the physics of the quantum field. You have learned how to survive the jump. Now you must learn how to design the landing. In the next briefing, we are going to deconstruct the mechanics of coherence. We will break down exactly how to sync the electromagnetic field of your heart with the new frequency in your brain. This is not poetic imagery. This is wave mechanics. When the frequency of your thought, the electric signal, matches the amplitude of your emotion, the magnetic signal, you create a standing wave that reality must organize around. You stop waiting for the pattern to happen to you, and you start dictating the geometry. If you are ready to stop being the sand and start being the conductor, you need to be here for that breakdown. We are building a library of physics-based spirituality, and we are only on Chapter 1. Click subscribe to ensure you receive the notification when the coherence protocol is uploaded. Do not let this new frequency go to waste. Do not let the sand scatter again. As you go about your week, keep your attention on the sound. Do not try to silence it. Every time you hear that high-pitched whine, every time you feel that sudden tremor in your chest, reframe it instantly. It is not an error code. It is the applause of the universe for the level you just reached. It is the hum of the engine idling, waiting for you to put your foot on the gas. The plate is set. The pattern is complex, the geometry is holding, you are ready to play. Listen to the sound. It is telling you that you made it. Now, let's see what you can build with it.